Thomas, your father left you something.
So where was he?
At Ardlicker.
I'll call you back.
Yeah, Pippi, I'm not coming into work today. I have a pest problem.
For an aardvark, press 1.
You need marine and waterfowl.
Try NYC Sanitation.
Don't get too cozy in there, Penguin. As soon as I get home, you're going back where you came from.
Well, Mr. Popper got some smart-ass penguins, man.
Yeah, he does, man. They know when it's time to take a shit, and the other time when they try to figure out how to take a shit, and that third time where they still knew when it was time to take a shit, it's time to take a shit.
That's what I was going to say. These penguins don't seem all that smart. All they know how to do is bite and shit and fart. No, it might as well be Johnny Knoxville and a Jackass crew.
Yeah, it
Penguin
pretty
ass.
much was. Yeah.
Well, I see these penguins. They know how to cut the TV on, know how to turn it to their favorite Charlie Chaplin show. They know. I think they even understand some human language, because when you say something to them like, "Hey, now that's not good," they're like, you know.
Yeah,
but for some reason, they need a human hand to help them take a bowel movement. You know.
Yeah, they do.
They're either very smart about shit when you get to laugh, like, you know, if it takes them to, you know, a point where they got to like take a shit on your head.
Yeah. No, those CGI penguins are great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but outside of that, you got to pick them up and squeeze the crap out of them over a toilet.
Which I was like, wow, am I really? Is this where we've come to as far as movie making and what you can do with digital effects now, where you can just grab a penguin at any time you want and squeeze the living shit out of it?
See, that's why I like my penguins when they surfing and tap dancing and all this shit, and it's just too goddamn much.
Yeah, or when they're throwing their friends like in the water. Yeah.
Oh yeah. When Mr. Popper said, "I'm gonna shake the shit out your ass," I mean, he literally is gonna do that. I was amazed at how what could have been, you know, a delightful penguin fantasy kind of just really took the time out to steep itself in bathroom humor. As we all know, I have nothing against a nice fart joke every now and then. If it's creative,
who does?
Every now and then.
Yeah, but when you got a movie where your joke is to actually have a penguin that farts so much that his name is Stinky, because you know it ain't the last time he's gonna fart.
Right.
It's gonna happen again later on, and it's gonna be funnier than last time.
Oh, yeah.
You just wait.
You better believe it.
Shit, it's about that time that you get a food TV magazine and start looking at some recipes for cooking penguin.
Mr. Popper actually does that. You know, this is based on a book from 1938 I read, and you know something about the book. I mean,
yeah, and it's a popular book. Like, kids are reading it in their classes. I think like third grade.
The second, third, and fourth grade level. I mean, you know, our in some cities 12th grade. But
Wow. I didn't realize.
even then, we're like, that's a little bit of a stretch for them.
I never realized they had books in 1930. I thought they were still chiseling shit out on walls. You know?
Oh, co-host. There was life before Mattel's electronic football.
Well,
Yeah.
really? Don't tell me.
Yeah, believe it or not. But so, and that book seemed like it was a little simpler. I mean, the character in that book was actually a poor painter who inherits some penguins, and these penguins start to they start to eat too much. Well, this guy and his family, they just can't afford to keep these penguins, and they got to figure out what to do.
Yeah, they were white elephants.
Yeah, pretty much. And in this movie, Jim Carrey plays a sort of a business tycoon. You know,
not much of a poor painter at all.
No. He's like living in a high rise. You know, everything is peachy keen with him.
Yeah.
You know, he's divorced, which is an added bonus, and he doesn't have the kids, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Only on the weekends.
Yeah. Now you think that a guy who would, you know, a swinging bachelor with a nice place like that, you know, the most respected businessman in the office, you know, that the next one to be like one of the top guys. You think that he would actually be out there, you know, bringing in women every weekend? I mean, because he don't deal with his kids. Wife don't even like him. He's just like, fuck y'all. You know, I don't need y'all to be happy.
So is he not close to his kids at all?
He is. Well, he tries as much as he can. That's the thing. That's the thing that the story tells you from the get go, is that he's at least trying to be a good father, but he just can't seem to read in between the lines with his kids.
So he's not like Ryan O'Neal, like beating the shit out of him.
No, he's not.
This isn't Stepfather. No,
not like having these penguins peck him half to death and all that kind of stuff. No, he's just he's a guy that's, you know, full of he's an egomaniac.
Okay.
He's an egomaniac. You know, whenever the Carla, what's her name? Carla
Gugino, I guess.
Gugino plays his wife, and she's telling him, because he goes in, like, his daughter, who's played by this kid Madeline Carroll. She's like, you know, I want to ask this guy out in school, but he doesn't even even though I'm alive, and I'm just feeling like the worst person in the world. And he's just kind of like, look, men are full of shit, okay? just get over it. And his wife is just like, you see, you just never listen. If you just listened. And he's like, I think I gave her some good ass advice. I'm going home.
You know what?
He
ain't wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe his delivery was bad.
That's it.
But his
he acts
information
more like an uncle than a dad.
Yeah.
Actually.
Okay.
Which you normally tell your kid, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And what is it with the movies today where kids don't call their parents mom or dad? Like when he comes into the house, the kid is like, hey, Popper. Like,
geez.
hey, buddy, yo, pal, They just get almost like getting a beer together, Hey, look at the tits on that girl down there,
Usually you can't call your dad Popper. Yeah, that usually means you're probably going to get your ass beaten in a little while.
Back in the day.
But not when you're a white kid. They can talk to their parents any kind of way.
Exactly.
That is true.
Son, don't call me Popper. Call me that. Shut, Dad. Come on. I thought we were friends. I thought we were pals.
Shut your fucking mouth and you turn on that Xbox now.
Well, I don't know. Black kids are pretty bad. We just saw that Madea movie where that black father came in. His dad was like, what's up, punk ass? So white kids are a little more. I think black kids have surpassed like
Tyler Perry's actually learning. Tyler Perry's learning from white culture. Is that what's going on?
See that's what integration gave us.
Bratty kids.
Yeah.
So okay, how much is Jim Carrey's character in this movie like he was in Liar Liar?
Well, he's not that bad in this movie. Because even though he's an egomaniac, you can tell when he goes home to that big 3,000-foot apartment that he has in the middle of Manhattan. He just walks in and he just looks at the whole place and he's like, sigh. And then they cut to Monday morning. He's like, thank God, I can get back out there to work where I'm surrounded by people. I'm doing what I'm good at.
Yeah.
So one day he is called in by his lawyer and he learns that his father has died. And he's just like, all right, so what the fuck did I get?
Yeah.
Why am I here? Read off what he left me. And he's like, well, you'll have a package coming. It's something that he thinks that you need. He gets the package later, and it's a big old crate. He opens it up, all this dry fog starts coming out of it, and it looks like it's a stuffed penguin. Now, why they're stuffing a penguin in like an ice, I don't know, but he puts the penguin on the table, and the penguin is actually not stuffed. It's alive. I don't know if it was in suspended animation or what.
It's frozen alongside Captain America.
I mean, honestly, they should have had a scene where Boba Fett delivers him the penguin in carbonite. Because I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, that penguin came with a shield.
Yeah.
But, man, so the penguin immediately comes to life and starts to imprint on Jim Carrey. I mean, at the moment it comes like aware or whatever, what the fuck was wrong with this penguin? He starts hugging on Jim Carrey's leg, and Jim Carrey's like, "What the hell am I going to do with a penguin?" Well, right when he thinks he has a way to get rid of this one penguin, he gets another crate. Like I think 5 more penguins pop out of it.
5 or 6 more penguins start popping out, and that's when the hilarity ensues.
And that's when the movie turns to Gremlins.
Wait, I was going to say, it does sound like Gremlins. I'm like, well, isn't this the part of the movie where he calls the zoo and the Humane Society, they come pick him up, and then the story's over?
Well, okay, see, that's the deal with the movie is that he does call like the Humane Society. Humane Society says, "Hey, this is not our problem. Call call a wildlife the wildlife department." And like, we don't have penguins on the list. If we don't have it, we can't touch it. Call this department. Finally, they get to sanitation. And sanitation's like, hey, if it ain't dead, it ain't us. We only take the dead ones.
It'd be hold on 5 minutes.
If it ain't shitting on,
how about now?
If it ain't shitting on the floor, it ain't our problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
So, and the zoo finally comes over, and they're saying that, all right, not only can we get these off your hands, but they don't belong in an apartment. All kinds of things can happen to them. At this point, Jim Carrey's kids have come over, and it's the little boy in the family, played by Maxwell Perry, kind of little boy Billy. He's like, "Oh, Dad, what'd you give me for my birthday?" And the daughter's like, "Yeah, motherfucker, you forgot, didn't you?" He's like, "No, not only did I not forget, but I got something special." This penguin pops out, and the kid is like, "Wow, penguins! All right, you got me a penguin." And the wife is just kind of like, "This is the best birthday ever for him." And
I'm sorry, no wife would do that.
No wife would be like this. She's like, "What? You just getting his hopes up because we can't keep no fucking penguins around it." But no, this is movie land where it's like, "Oh, the kids are happy. All of a sudden, you've reached them. We got to keep these penguins." Jim Carrey's like, "Well, I guess I'm keeping the penguins because my kids are happy." He tells the guy at the zoo, "You got to hold on. My little boy ain't pissed at me right now.
And the whole time I'm wondering, well, what the fuck did this kid get last year? Did he get a fucking shark in a tank or something? I mean, wow.
Last year he got
what's he getting next year? A hooker?
No, he
film that movie.
He got a chicken last year. When you say this year they're gonna give him a fucking lion or something? Yeah, you know, you're just looking at this and it's like, okay, this is movie world, all right. None of this makes any fucking sense. I mean, even if the wildlife department came by, they'd be like, no, we got to find a way to like get these penguins out of here.
Yeah, they would not tolerate like, oh, hold on, just wait a while. It'd be like,
but
no,
this is a
sorry.
fantasy though. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so you kind of accept it for what it is, and that's why I'm like, you know, for as far-fetched as they're taking this story, all of the charm of the film lies within the penguins, which are a combination of CG and real penguins, and they give penguins personalities that they would never fucking have in real life, you know, to the point where he names them different names, like, oh, that one's Chief or whatever,
Stinky, or
yeah, this one that
Loudy.
that one's
Yes, right, Loudy and-
Bitey. Here's that one's Chief or whatever. One's in charge, and then
Charlie.
Ready for the big birthday celebration fiesta?
Yeah, penguin! 6 penguins?
It's good counting, Billy.
Do they have names?
This one's Captain. And that's Cloudy. Hey! Boy, one's Stinky.
He loves me.
No, that's Lovey. And that's Nimrod.
And then there's one, of course.
Stripe and Gizmo.
Don't feed these penguins after midnight.
I'm surprised they didn't get the names of fucking Mo, Larry, and Curly.
Yeah, in there somewhere. But no, because they have to have one that farts, and they call him Stinky. And from that point on, you kind of know where this movie's going to go. Because when you're watching the penguins, yeah, all right, penguins don't do this shit. You know, I didn't catch the part in March of the Penguins where Morgan Freeman described you had to pick a penguin up to make him shit over the toilet. You know,
I was all in the
that.
deleted scenes. You didn't see.
Oh, that what it is?
It's the bonus features now. But the thing is with this movie though, it's like it is pretty much because I mean this fucking story was written in 1938, right?
Right.
I mean, so it's so conventional that you kind of know how the story's going to go. I mean, they're so desperate to look for a bad guy in this movie that the guy who comes, who works for the zoo, explains to Jim Carrey that you shouldn't have these penguins inside this apartment. Where you're like, okay, that makes perfectly good sense, but because the kid, sees the penguins like they're mine, all of a sudden that creates a villain. And
I never thought of it like that. You're right, man. If they had to try hard to make a villain.
Yeah, and it really did. Even though when you're like, it's kind of hard to see this guy as a villain because he's actually absolutely right. They belong in a fucking zoo. I mean, not hanging out with a spoiled ass fucking kid and this chick who can't get a fucking date.
That's what I thought watching the commercial. I was like, I don't understand where he's wrong. It seems like, I mean, I guess the same Agent Coulson from all the Marvel movies. I guess he got fired from S.H.I.E.L.D. and now he's working as a zookeeper.
Well, that's what I thought. Like at the end of the credits, you're going to have like Samuel Jackson. You ain't the only one with penguins around town. We need these penguins for S.H.I.E.L.D. They're smarter than the average penguin. I mean, I wouldn't make, because who's that guy that plays
Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg, yeah, because that's the only time you can think, when you see him, you just think S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Yeah.
But, man,
the penguins or him?
Both. Especially when he waddled off at the end. No, it's
That'd be great.
It's a movie that could have really had some, like, I think could have been a better film. I mean,
easily
if they just had tried to be just a little bit smarter. I mean, there's points in there where Jim Carrey is kind of, I think he's trying to outact the penguins, and there's sometimes where he's funny and then sometimes where he's annoying.
Yeah. I actually thought he kind of toned it down. Like watching this, I was like, wow, this is the most kind of toned down Jim Carrey that you can possibly get, only because I think he was aware this movie is specifically targeted for children. I mean, it really is. And the bigger dynamic of the story here is about this family trying to get back together. Right. So there's a lot. After a while, there seems to be a lot more of that going on than the actual penguins. Because there's times when I'm like, you know what? Penguins don't even need to be here, honestly. I mean, sure, it's the one thing that's bringing this family back together, I guess. But as far as like when it gets into the crazier, wacky situations, it's there only to be wacky and gross and to have the kids fucking laugh.
Yeah,
and
that's,
keep them occupied.
and that's what I guess I'm upset about with this film. I mean, because it is cute. I mean, I'm like, I'd be lying if I said I didn't fall for these penguins at some point. I mean, because they do give them enough personality where you do kind of fall for them whenever you see them like really attach themselves to Jim Carrey. Mr. Potter, or Popper, whatever.
Popper.
Yeah, Mr. Popper.
When
yeah.
Mr. Popper,
Popper.
It's like, man, all right, I like this. This is the kind of fantasy film that I'm looking for. You know, I really believe that these penguins are real, and I want to see them behave that way more. But there's so much that relies on these penguins causing mayhem. That's what it is. And see, this is the kind of movie that does not handle that kind of mayhem very well, because everything revolves around the penguins going somewhere, causing trouble, and then we get the obligatory, they ran out a guy's legs and he fell. Oh, they knocked over this guy, or the person that just has expression like, whoa, all that kind of stuff.
This sounds so much like that era of Disney live action films, like the Shaggy Dog, the Shaggy DA.
It is. They brought it back.
That darn cat, the North Avenue Irregulars.
Yeah.
And honestly, thinking about it, like this movie probably would have worked if there was only one penguin, because the penguin that you're introduced to is actually charming, and you're like, oh wow, okay, I'm actually digging this penguin. But when they introduce the rest of them, and they're just there to do their little sight gags, I mean, you kind of forget about them.
Wow,
honestly.
you make a good point, because I remember it seemed like there used to be a lot of stories like that, where almost even like E.T., where you have like the one fish out of water that the family has, attached themselves to, and you root for him and you fall in love with that creature. But if they got 5 of them running around, they're all diluting that.
They really
feeling.
do, because the main penguin, I forget, they call well, it was, I
kept saying
his name
but I
is,
can't remember.
his name is Captain.
Captain, that's it.
But you find out it's not a he, it's actually a she.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you realize that this penguin has flight envy, because every time it sees like an eagle or something, like you see the penguin like try to fly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's really cute. That's almost like a Buzz Lightyear thing going on there,
right,
where he thinks he's a real spaceman. You see this penguin who just wants to fly. And they kind of dropped that after a while, until this one specific scene at the end where it really felt like it was really crowbarred in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what? You had a lot of good things in this movie, but you just diluted it with all this other nonsense that really didn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know if they were going to make these penguins. They're going to make them a group. So I like that there were several penguins. I just didn't think the personalities of that were strong enough to be
not
a
at
group.
all.
Like,
especially when you meet the first one. I think that was the problem with it. The first one had so much personality, but when you're introduced to the other one, they do their gags. That's all they do for the rest of the film, and they actually lose personality because you're just waiting for them to do their typical shitting joke.
I guess if they were penguins that kind of work together, because like I said, the setup for a lot of these, the mayhem scenes are just that. I mean, they're set up in such a bad way. Like there's a woman who comes in to babysit the penguins, and everything's cool, but once the penguins start acting crazy, she freaks out, runs out of the apartment, leaves the door wide open. That kind of like, well, I wonder what's going to happen next. These penguins are able to travel across town because they mentioned in the film that they have a very strong sense of
smell, or they can. Their senses are.
They home.
They're able to hone in on like the person that they've imprinted on. So they travel across town to get to like Jim Carrey when he's over at a museum doing a benefit. And you're looking at this and it's like, and they get there, they get across. Now either Mr. Popper lived right across the street from the Guggenheim, or these penguins took a subway, took a taxi.
Hey man, I've always heard great things about New York's mass transit system.
Even penguins can get on there. Don't nobody notice.
Easy to read, all pictograms.
Yeah, I think the penguins are in that video with that crazy homeless naked guy fucking
that racist guy.
Yeah, I think I saw them like scuttling around going.
Yeah, they bought a train card and everything. Yeah. But when you see those kind of things, you're just kind of like, wow, that is such a heavy setup, and and it's a stretch to begin with. But
they get there in no time. So I mean, it immediately tells you, okay, this is pure and utter fantasy for children. I mean,
and maybe
really
if the penguins had worked together, like in The Great Escape or something. I mean, they're a group that use their personalities to the fullest. Looking at Jim Carrey, like I said, there's some moments where, Jim Carrey is just mugging, and then there's some moments where Jim Carrey just had me laughing really hard, man. Back to that old Jim Carrey where he would just do anything for a laugh.
Yeah. And
it's like, okay, this guy is just throwing so much out there. I'm going to be annoyed by something, but at the same time, I'm going to laugh at something really hard. And I liked him in this movie.
There's parts where he was charming, where you kind of remember, wow, okay, there's a reason why this guy is why he used to be such a huge star.
Right.
I don't know if this movie is going to help him, in that direction anymore. But because, I mean, like I said, it seemed like a very like toned down type movie for Jim Carrey to even take. To where I'm sure he was doing it probably for kids.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Like, hey, it works for Eddie Murphy.
or like his like cousins or nieces or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, I was like, wow, this seems like, because in the theater I was at, there was hardly anyone there.
As a matter of fact, yeah. Come to
And
think
I'm just
of it,
like, is this guy's star like slowly starting to fade away now?
well, I remember you guys talking about In Living Color before we started. I remember on those episodes of In Living Color, sometimes he would have his kids on there. He'd pick them up. So those kids are grown now. He ain't doing
Oh,
it for them.
I didn't even know he had kids. Actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's
Oh, no
yeah,
shit.
his kid. I guess
They'd be
Kids would be grown by
probably
now.
in their
Okay.
20s.
Well, maybe his kids are watching this.
yeah,
shit.
maybe so.
And,
Yeah.
and the sad thing about a movie like this is that you see a little bit of classic Hollywood in here. Angela Lansbury
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
plays the owner of
Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, Murder She Wrote to her career with this movie. No,
Yeah.
she doesn't give a shit at this point. She's
No.
just like,
Why
hey,
would
look,
she?
at
She's
this point.
her brain ain't working the same way anymore.
Yeah, she owns a restaurant, Tavern on the Green, and Jim Carrey is the business guy that's sent to go in and try to get her to sell just so they could demolish the place, and she really doesn't have a whole lot to do in here.
It's funny because
I didn't even know she was still alive.
Yeah, I know. I was like, is that Murder, She Wrote?
Shit, I was
Really?
wondering with you penguins, did they bring her ass back with CG?
Yeah.
there were parts when y'all described this movie that made me flash back to Nanny McPhee, just with those badass kids, and that was the last movie I think she was in that I remember seeing her in.
Oh, she and Nanny McPhee?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why she would do a movie like this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the only thing that was thrown her way, and she just really has to work one more time before.
Well, she's working with Jim Carrey, I guess. Maybe that was.
I don't know.
Maybe that was the
she's
one
fucking
factor.
Jim Carrey. I don't know.
Sure hell was one of those CG penguins.
Yeah, this is directed by Mark Waters, who's a guy he directs a lot of studio films that go one way or the other. Like he did Mean Girls,
Okay.
but he also did like the Spider-Man
This guy
Chronicles.
did Mean Girls.
Yeah, he did me.
Really?
He did a lot of studio films that seemed like middle of the road projects, but were pretty good. Like Freaky Friday, Mean Girls.
Yeah, those were two big hits. Actually,
Spiderwick Chronicles is one of those movies that I think is a pretty good movie.
Oh,
That's-
Spiderwick Chronicles.
Yeah, this
Yes.
got completely passed over.
That got pat, and that was a movie where he worked with a lot of heavy CG. But then he directed Just Like Heaven. I know you guys have seen all these.
He's that. Okay, he's that guy. He takes a lot of middle of the road projects that you don't expect anything
kind of
from.
bumps him up.
Yeah, bumps
like
him
he
up.
even did Ghost of Girlfriend's Past.
Okay, yeah, all those same movies that we come back raving about, going like, wow, I thought that was going to be shit. And it
Yeah,
was-
this one is not. I haven't liked all the movies that you guys have liked as much. I mean, most of these, like Mean Girls and Freaky Friday, I was like, wow, that's surprisingly good.
Yeah, those are two good films.
Yeah, this one is straight up studio film. And
Okay.
he seemed like
It really was, yeah. I mean, that's why I'm
maybe got
surprised that you
tired.
told me that there's the guy who did Mean Girls, because fooled me. I mean, because the thing is, it seems like this was like handed off to like just some studio director, and they're just like, well, you got Penguins, you got Jim Carrey, do your thing.
Yeah.
It's for kids, so don't worry, it doesn't have to get too
He
fucking
probably
deep.
stayed up for 2 weeks smoking cigarettes,
Yeah.
drinking coffee.
But
You're like, I can't do anything with this.
Yeah, but I mean, but then again, that just shows that just shows that this is just a very mediocre film.
Yeah,
Right.
I do like the movie. I'm just sad that it took the turn of more broad humor instead of more imaginative humor. So I'm gonna give it a rental.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where honestly, I was getting ready to really hate it. Only because I heard nothing but bad things, and I actually kind of looked at the reviews, and it was getting really bad reviews. But shockingly, I didn't hate it. It just really, it had its moments where it was fun, and I could tell, like, there's plenty of there that you could take your family to go see this, and it would be completely just okay family entertainment. But me personally, I was like, I don't care. I don't care. You'd have to have like a 10-year-old kid or younger to really hold any interest, because the one appealing thing is the penguins. I mean, shit, I laughed when a fucking penguin fell into a goddamn drum kit, came out, started humping a leg, some chick's leg, and started farting at the same time. I laughed my ass off.
See, I saw that. I remember you telling me about that scene. I was like, no, what the hell was that so funny with this?
That was hilarious. But hilarious only to the point to where I can give it a rental. So
Okay.
In the part of the movie where you're supposed to feel the turnaround in Jim Carrey, it's not there. He really does come off as crazy. There's these penguins are laying eggs, and he realizes when he becomes obsessed with the one egg that is not hatching is when he starts to kind of realize that I need to be a better person. Not that he's a bad person, but I just need to care a little bit more. And it's like, you are like Howard Hughes, man. You're fucking insane.
Yeah.
You got he brings in snow into his apartment, and the whole place is cold, and he's pretty much living in the elements, and he's sleeping at night by this egg, and it's like that's weird, man.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, that is a point where even like his young son should be like, Dad, you have to stop this.
no, they don't care. They're
You
like
have to-
penguins, Dad. Can we keep them?
And you know what, Leon? It's even weirder when you find out that he's actually the father, dude. I'm serious, man. I was fucked up. I was not expecting that at all. That's probably one of the best twists of the whole summer.
That penguin comes out with a Jim Carrey face on it. Alrighty then. Yeah, man.
That's not right! Pull yourself together. Your house is full of penguins.
Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Hey, kids, check this out. And shuffle ball step, shuffle ball lunge. Step ball change, step ball change, step ball change. Word